that speech, really, the two leaders are now drawing the election battle lines. Rishi Sunak's speech was all about the future and the threats that the UK is facing, and he was effectively saying to the voters, don't risk it on Labour, stick with me. He cited his defence spending commitment. He talked about technology. We know that he's very interested and engaged in policy around artificial intelligence. And then there was political point scoring, in which he basically accused Keir Starmer of being a leader that will wax and wane, do whatever it takes to win power, as he cited him backing Jeremy Corbyn, who wanted to get rid of the army, and now Natalie Elphicke, who's a right-wing Conservative. But look, the question I asked him was why, after the local elections, did the Prime Minister, I know he implied to me that he hadn't said it, but he had said in an interview to The Times that it seemed that we were heading to a hung parliament. Yes, he probably had been using the Thrasher analysis, but he used the words about heading to a hung parliament. I didn't put them into his mouth. And the point of that was, as a Prime Minister, to say that you are likely heading to a hung parliament, or the local election results suggest that, when you've also ruled out any coalition deals with anyone else, means you're effectively saying to your audience, I can't win a general election. And it seemed to me a curious thing for a Prime Minister to do, when he clearly so passionately does want to win the next general election. So that was the question, even though he didn't accept the premise of it. And in terms of what's at stake with the general election, I think the issue he's got is that when it comes to the NHS, you had a defector from the Conservative benches, Dan Poulter, on a big policy issue, saying that he was defecting because it was time for Labour, in Dan Poulter's words, to correct the Conservative chaos, his words, around the NHS. And then with Natalie Elphicke, you had a Conservative MP, again on a huge policy platform, defecting to Labour, saying the Prime Minister, in her words, cannot be trusted to keep the borders safe. So I think what you've got here, if you like, is a mismatch between the Prime Minister's rhetoric and his desire to convince the public that to stick with him means the country is safer under the Conservatives, and a public that has just tuned out and isn't listening. And whatever he says about the defections, however he tries to bat them away, it sends a signal to the public that Conservative MPs themselves are running out of faith with Rishi Sunak. So look, he's setting the battle lines, but at the moment the polls are moving. Let's see if they narrow in the coming months.